So I wanted to go through, I'm just going to set up a few tools, just like standard ones that I'll probably use often. That way I can put them into Fusion and I can mess with writing programs while I'm in the house versus coming all the way out to the garage, or if I'm at work and I'm messing around at lunchtime or whatever. I don't know, I think it'll just be a good learning exercise for me. I never really did set up tool heights in the computer. I just always put in a tool, touched off 0, ran the program, and then the next program touched off 0, and it was dumb. It's dumb to do it that way. It takes way longer and defeats half the purpose of using a CNC machine. So I set up one tool the other day when I cut the jaws, the new holes for the soft jaws, and it worked fine. So I'm just going to do a little video on how I did that, and we'll get a few of these set up. So I'm planning on using the back jaw as my reference surface to set all this up. I'm gonna just fly cut both of the jaws together. I have a parallel that I pinched in there, so the jaws are tight. And yeah, I'm just gonna shave off just enough to get both surfaces plain, or yeah, all level and even. And I'm just gonna do that by hand. So I'm gonna run run it over first. And then we'll just kind of touch off. Oh, there we go. Now we're going. So that's just barely through the anodized layer. It's only touching the rear jaw right now. Alright, now I'm going to back her over. And then I'm going to come down. Alright, so we're just going to run her over and see how she does. Beautiful. A little bit of lube would probably help. A little tiny bit out of trim, it looks like. I thought I had it set dang near perfect. Huh. Yeah, I thought I trimmed it in perfect, but I was over on the middle of the table, and now I have the vise set off kind of off-center a little. So I wonder if it's just if the table's leaning because it's hanging off that edge more. I don't know. But it is very close. I can see cut marks going kind of both ways. Let's see, I'll bring you in a little closer. So that was where we got back on the center of the table right there. Don't worry, my finger's 6 inches away from the cutter. But over here, you can only see the cut marks going this way. And then we got to about the center of the table and it leveled off. So I wonder if the table, because I have the vise offset, I wonder if it's making the table lean, because that would cause exactly what we're seeing. Other than that, the finish is really nice. I do need to cut a little bit more off. I want to cut going from right to left. That way the chips get blown backwards. So I'm going to run it back over. I'll just cruise on over there. It could also be the cutter is digging in as it goes around on the heavier pass, because as soon as it came off the vise is when I could see the cut direction going both ways, cutting on the back and the front of the cutter. So that's also very likely. But I can actually, yeah, right now I can mostly see the cut on the back of the cutter, but it's not really cutting much of anything, but it does seem like it's slightly out of trim. Take a look-see at that. It's a really nice finish. But yeah, that's what I was talking about. So it could just be that that's about where the cutter stopped taking a full cut, and then you could start seeing it wasn't digging in on the backside quite as much as it was over here. See how pretty much all the cut marks that were going this way are gone all the way until you get over here. Then you can start seeing both ways. That's what you want across the whole part though. So either I'm just out of trim just a tiny bit, or it's just the cutter, once it got out here, it was no longer cutting out here, so it was doing something funky. But yeah, it's good enough for me. But yeah, I'm gonna use this back edge, the fixed jaw, as my reference surface, and I'm just gonna go touch off some tools. I'll use probably filler gauge because I have them out already, but you can also use paper, and you just measure the thickness of your paper and subtract it from your touch off. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna touch off the actual spindle nose to the top of the vise. So we're gonna start there. All right, so I've got a piece of 2/1000 brass shim stock. I just happen to have some brass shim stock laying around. So got her down close and she fits just fine. So I'm gonna go down by 1/10 of a thousandth. Once it's all the way down, it'll be a pretty snug fight, or pretty snug fit. So it feeling pretty good right there. So now I know that I'm 2/1000ths, the spindle nose is 2/1000ths above the top of the vise. So I will go over here and we'll go to our offsets tab. We'll go to, I think you do tool 0. That means there's no tool in the spindle. 0 that. Enter. And that's our spindle 0. I believe that's all we have to do. Yeah, tool length 0. All right, so I loaded tool 1 into the spindle, and we're just gonna click tool 0, and we're gonna enter 1, and then M6 G43, which tells the machine that we're changing the tool. So now we're gonna jog it down and touch off our 3/8 inch flat end mill. So we'll come down. Right about there. And we're just gonna get our filler gauge in there. Takes a long time when it's just moving 1/10 each time. All right, that should be it right there. So now we know we're 2/1000ths above. So we'll come over here and we should be able to just click touch Z. 3.7044. Okay. I have a height gauge, so actually let's go over to the surface plate and we'll manually measure it. I think that'll be interesting. So we'll lift this back up out of the way-o. So yeah, 3.7044. All right, so I've got a couple 1, 2, 3 blocks, and then my SPI height gauge. We're gonna go down and touch off on this, which is right there. So what we'll do is 0 it there. How do we 0 this thing? I thought you hit, no, I guess not. Let's go all the way down and touch off on the surface plate too, just to see if it's still 2. Wow. Pretty much dead nuts, and these are just El Cheapo 1, 2, 3 blocks, so that's pretty neat. Yeah, 1.9995. That's impressive. Now it's saying we're off by, let's see, about, we're within like a half a thousandths. I can't tell because it's not really like sliding down. I guess push down right here maybe. We'll do that way because that gets me 0. Check this one again. Half a thou. Okay. Good enough for me. So now we're going to take our tool holder. This is basically like a makeshift Tormach tool height checker. And this actually has a USB. I wonder if I could hook it up to PathPilot. Okay. And then we're just going to set her down on the end mill. .704. And what did we get on the computer? 3.7044. So, yep, pretty dang good, if I say so myself. So knowing this, we have a couple options now. We could keep touching off the way we have been, or I can just use that height gauge. So if you don't have a height gauge, obviously the way we did with touching off on the vise is the way you're gonna have to do it. And that's fine. I think it'll just take a little bit longer and probably won't be quite as accurate, but I'm gonna do it. Well, let's do one more touching off on the vise and check it against the height gauge again, and we'll just see what we see. So we're gonna do the same thing over here. I put the fly cutter in, and we're going to change this. We'll just call it tool 2, M6 G43, and we'll do super duper fly. Enter. So diameter, that's for wear compensation, or in Fusion, I think what I'm gonna do is you can tell Fusion to use the inputs from PathPilot instead of what you enter in, and that way if you wanted, you could come back and adjust the diameter and run the program again to like sneak up on a dimension if you need to. There's a video on YouTube how to do it, but that's basically it. You set Fusion to use the machine control diameter, and that way if you bore a hole and you're like 0.02 undersize, you could come back and tell it that the tool is 1/1000 smaller, and it would cut the hole as if that tool were 1/1000 smaller. I'm not sure what the drawbacks of that are, if there are any. But on things like holes where I know I might need a precise fit, that's what I'm gonna probably end up doing. That way I can kind of sneak up on a dimension if I need to. And same thing, if it bores it oversized, you can come back and tell it that the tool is actually bigger. And obviously that part will be oversized. You can't put the material back, but you'll be able to do the next part and get it on size. So tool 2, M6, G43. Now we're gonna check our height with our filler gauge, and we'll see where we're at. So ideally the tip of the tool would be right in the same place, but this is a fly cutter, so it's off by a little bit, off to the side. Right about there. Let's see. And now we say touch Z, and that enters in 1.929. So we'll go back over the surface plate and check that again. All right, and don't mind the mess in the whole garage. Got like 15 projects going, construction and machining and everything. So come back down. And I'm gonna kind of put a little bit of pressure on here so it doesn't kind of like tip over or something. And come down till we're almost touching. There we go, 1.928. So we were 1.929. So I am gonna use 1.928. And I'm just gonna type that into the computer over here. just like this. So we come over here and we can just say 1.928, enter, and that's it. Now the tool height is set and we are good to go and keep measuring and adding all the tools we want to add. So I'm just gonna put together a few of like the most common tools that I use and just have them entered in here, and then I will add them to Fusion 360 also, which is a similar setup. You just go into your tool library, click add, and then type in all the dimensions and just make sure the tool height is the same. And then next time you go to do a machine a program or a part, run a program, everything will already be ready to go. You just touch off. You can either touch off the spindle nose to the top of the part or your origin, or something else that you know the height is. So if you had a tool height setter, you could touch off to that and then just remove the height of the tool relative to the height of the actual part that you're cutting. I usually just touch off on the part, and you could also just put in whatever tool you're going to use, touch that off to the part, and just tell it that you have that tool in the spindle. So if I were going to use tool 2 as my first operation, like I'm going in to face a part and I'm using the top of the stock as my origin, I could just tell it tool 2 is in there and then go down, touch off on the top of the part and click Z0, and then you're good to go. So yep, just a quick little video. Well, quick for me, my videos always run on forever because I ramble on like I'm doing now. But yep, I'll keep posting videos as I go along. This probably would have been helpful to me. There's already videos how to do this, but they're all, I mean, everybody has a different method. I did the method that is in the manual. So yeah, do it however you want to do it. There's several ways to do this and they're all right. So yep, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you later.